Starting with the Digi-Egg cards, let's go ahead and talk about the all-new BT20 Necromon. Whenever your stack gets deleted, you get to recur a ghost trait type Digimon back from your trash. This is really important because you're going to delete yourself a lot constantly in this deck, and you always want to ensure that you grab your optimal pieces so that you can climb into your stack all over again and repeat those combos. And speaking of deleting, we're also going to be hatching quite a lot as well, which is why I recommend running a 5th egg in the deck, which we got the OG BT3 Necromon, which also has an undeletion effect to draw one and trash one. And now let's talk about rookies, starting with the 4 copies of must-have of the BT20 Ghostmon. This is your main on-play searcher that you always want to prioritize hard playing because you get to find your pieces, grabbing anything that is going to be Ghost Trait and Liberator, and you're often enough going to be getting your 2 hits. Its inherent effect is that on deletion, you get to gain a memory. And speaking of on deletion gaining memory, that's also the exact same reason why I'm running 3 copies of Tsukaimon to get that inheritable effect. But keep in mind, Tsukaimon is not a Ghost Trait, so there is going to be a bit of a hiccup when it comes to synergy of the archetype. But then back to more Ghost Trait related Digimon, I'm also running 3 copies of the all-new BT20 Candomon. Itself has retaliation, so you can always trade against your opponent's Digimon, and then with its on deletion inherited effect, you get to trash a card from your hand to delete one of your opponent's Digimon that's level 4 or lower. But that's it for level 3s, and starting off with the all-new BT20 Bakemon. Bakemon lets you play out your Violet inboots if you have 1 or fewer Tamers when you Digivolve into it. And that is exactly why you're always going to get into it as soon as possible in the early stages, especially if you have her in your hand. On deletion, just like most other inheritables, you get to gain a memory. Then I'm also running another Bakemon, which there's 3 copies of the BT15 one. Itself gets to draw and trash cards when you Digivolve or whenever it gets deleted to help you cycle. And then with its inherent effect, gives you retaliation with no stipulations. And then to round off the rest of the level 4s, I'm running 2 copies of the all-new BT20 Soulmon. Whenever you play or Digivolve into this guy, you can give any of your Digimon retaliation that lasts until the opponent's turn. And then with its inherent effect is exactly the same as Candomon. On deletion, trash a card from your hand to delete a level 4 or lower on your opponent's side. That's it for level 4s, and now let's talk about level 5s, starting with the all-new Phantomon from BT20. You definitely want to run 4 copies of. This is where the brand new keyword execution is introduced. It allows your Digimon to attack at the end of the turn. You're also allowed to attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. After the attack, you have to delete itself though. And this is exactly where retaliation synergizes really well with this effect, because if you ever trade in your opponent's Digimon, you can take them down at the same time to remove bigger bodies. But that's not all. Phantomon has a on deletion effect which lets you bring back a Ghost Trait type Digimon back from the trash, keeping value whenever you trade into your opponent's security or Digimon like you never lost anything to begin with. By floating a body back out, you can easily climb into another stack with it so that you can repeat your combos again in the next turn. And with its inherent effect, it provides the exact same on deletion effects towards a stack. As for the secondary level 5, I'm running 3 copies of Metal Phantomon. This guy costs 4 memory to Digivolve, which is quite a bit, but that's why you want to Digivolve it for 1 cost on top of a regular Phantomon. Whenever you Digivolve or play out this guy, you get to delete any of your own Digimon to delete one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon, which is really good mid-game removal. As a matter of fact, you can delete itself and then have Phantomon underneath to get its on deletion effect to play out level 4 again. If not, you can always just Digivolve this stack up and utilize its inheritable of on deletion, de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, which is also really good secondary soft removal to synergize with your on deletion effects too. Then to wrap up for all the level 5s, I'm teching in 1 copy of Chimeramon. Since this deck is really good at constantly floating out level 4 bodies, often enough times you're going to find yourself having 2 of them. This means you can go ahead and DNA into Chimera to add additional sources underneath so you can get extra benefits and effects when in inheritables. Afterwards, it then helps you bridge into a level 6. Otherwise, use it as another way to make a sneaky attack to help finish off games where your opponents might not see it coming, and that is allowed as long as you DNA Digivolve into it. That's it for level 5s. Now let's talk about level 6s, and let's begin with the all-new BT20 Necromon. This is the main level 6 boss Digimon that you certainly want to be playing as a 4 of, because it has security +1 to help you deal damage, and like the new keyword which we mentioned earlier and talked about, execute. When you Digivolve or play out this card, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level. It also has a on deletion effect similar to Phantomon, but you also get to use it whenever you hard play this card too, which allows you to play out a level 5 Ghost Trait Digimon from your trash for free. By having Phantomon's inherited effect underneath, this is exactly where you always get to float 2 bodies out whenever the stack is deleted. For the secondary level 6, I'm running 1 copy of Reapermon. This card has collision and blocker, and it has an all turns once per turn effect that if your opponent Digivolves via an effect, you get to de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. And this is exactly how you get to play around the opponent's ace effects, especially when it comes to your own turn, because of turn player priority. When they Digivolve into the ace, you're always going to get to resolve and trigger first to de-Digivolve them, meaning they're not going to be able to use their aces when Digivolving effect to begin with, and you also get ace overflow. But that's not all. When this guy is deleted, you also get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon that is 4 cost or lower, or even Tamer. To round up for all the level 6s, I definitely have to include the one of Anubismon just because it's such a strong purple staple card. Being able to trash cards from your hand, set up what you want in there, play stuff back, reducing the cost all the way up to 6 is just crazy value. And yeah, definitely makes sense to include. Being able to draw more cards or pop things that your opponent has on the board as well with a secondary effect is just insane. That's it for all of Digimon. Now let's talk about Tamers. And starting off, I'm running 3 copies of the all-new BT20 Violet Inboots. This is a 3-cost Tamer that gives you constant memory gain as long as your opponent has a Digimon at the start of your main phase. By establishing this Tamer on the board, you gain a lot of value whenever your Ghost Trait type Digimon is deleted because it allows you to Digivolve one of your Ghost Trait type Digimon for reducing the cost by 2. This allows you to climb back into a level 4 for free, going into a level 5 for 1, and going into your Necromon just for 2 memory. And this is exactly how you maintain tempo throughout the course of the game when you delete your own Digimon. Then I'm also running 2 copies of the older Violet Inboots from BT18 just as a memory setter, but also letting you cycle through at the start of main by trashing anything that's Ghost Trait so that you can draw another card and continue to find and filter the stuff that you need to build your optimal stack and combos. But we're not done with Tamers because the main core Tamer that you really be running and including this deck that you guys may have guessed already since I said you hatch a lot, and that is of course the 4 copies of Analog Youth. Being one of the best Tamers out there for most purple decks, searching, grabbing your piece, trashing anything that you need to have and set up, and then because you're going to be deleting yourself a lot, often enough, you're going to be able to suspend, hatch your egg, gain memory back, and keep up with momentum so you can build another stack in the back as well, which really excels your win condition. That's it for all of the Tamers. Now let's talk about option cards, starting off with Necromon's signature move. I'm running 2 copies of Apparition Legion. Now when I read this card for the very first time, I was really confused, but I've done a lot of researching and talked to a couple judges just to make sure exactly what this does because its wording is kind of confusing. It says by returning up to 9 levels worth of Digimon. And let me explain exactly how this works. You want to return multiple Digimon from your opponent's trash and bottom deck it, but it has to equal the total level of exactly 9. It cannot be less. It cannot be 8, 7, 6, or under. It has to be exactly 9. So in optimal situations, you get to return a level 6 and a level 3, or a level 5 and a level 4. Or you can even return 3 level 3s from your opponent's trash to the bottom of the deck. Afterwards, depending on the level Digimon you return, you get to play the exact same level Digimon that is Ghost Trait type back from your trash. So back to the example, if you bottom deck a level 6 and 3 on your opponent's trash to the bottom of your deck, you get to play out a level 6 and a level 3 Ghost Trait type Digimon. Same applies for level 5 and 4, and then otherwise you can play out 3 level 3s Ghost Traits if you return 3 level 3s. The most important thing is you're going to match 1 for 1 for every level that you return. After you play out those Digimon, they all gain Rush and Blocker that lasts until the end of your opponent's turn. So that really synergizes well with Execution because Execution lets you attack at the end of the turn. And since you have Rush, that allows you to either finish your opponents off out of nowhere, and even for that 8 memory, this is why this card is really good at closing out games or setting up a very big defensive wall with multiple Digimon that you need to stand down against your opponents before you pass your turn. Generally, I like to use this card as a game finisher, which is why it's really important to keep a track of what level Digimon that your opponent has in the trash. And the security effect simply lets you play a level 5 or lower Ghost Trait type Digimon back from your trash. And since this is a purple deck after all, I also included the 1 copy of Calling, which is a staple to help you grab additional pieces that you need back from the trash, and just another avenue to help you delete your own Digimon. And then to round off for the rest of the staple options, I'm running 4 copies of Wisdom Training and 1 copy of Purple Scramble. Tech choices and other cards that you guys can also be including into this deck. As another Digi-Egg card aside from the BT3 Demi-Meramon as your 5th egg, you can also consider running QPmon from BT16 just because it has a lot of synergy with your Undeletion, trash a card from your hand to gain a memory, which pretty much does exactly what most of the other cards do. If you want more searching consistency, you can always opt in to include Purple Memory Boost to help you dig deeper and find pieces, and with its memory gain delay to help you make more plays. Of course, you can also choose to add generic purple level 7s, such as Buzamon Blast Mode Ace, which is a new addition from BT2.5. This card now gives purple decks an extra layer to counter against the opponent's attacks, as you get to delete stuff when you go into it, and also trash your opponent's security when you attack with it too. Other than that, there's also the typical rune mode that you can include just to lock down against your opponents, just so in situations you can then close the game to turn afterwards. What are the spicy cards you guys have including for Necromon? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright, let's talk about combos and how to play the all-new Necromon deck. Let's begin with the mulligan hand and the cards and the pieces that you want to see as you start off the game. You definitely want to see your Ghostmon to help you search, Wisdom Training to find pieces, Analog Youth to do the same thing. All these are going to be your searching cards that you want to be playing, dropping, so that you can find pieces, gather stuff you need in the trash with Analog Youth. Eventually, you're going to climb up into your stack, into your Bakemon to play out your Violet Inboots for free, and then go into Phantomon, and then Necromon, and so on. For combo number 1, I'm going to show you guys how you want to start your board by establishing your tamers and just basically have your trash and everything keep cycling already. So you want to have a Ghostmon or any rookie in the back ready to go, and then you just go ahead and push out, and 1 memory is all you need with a wisdom training. Just with that, you want to use the wisdom training to digivolve into Bakemon. Bakemon, since you have one of your tamers, go ahead and play out your Violet inboots. The ideal one that you mainly want to prioritize is the 3 cost new one from BT20, just because you can continue to digivolve and continue your combos and so on. Now you want to go ahead and digivolve into Phantomon for 3 costs. Phantomon's effect of execute is now going to kick in because it is the end of turn. With that, you can attack into your opponent's unsuspended Digimon or their security. Once Phantomon checks into your opponent's security, whether it survives the battle just doesn't matter, because with execute, you have to delete Phantomon at the end of the turn after the attack anyways. So meaning it's going to get deleted. So here you're going to delete Phantomon, and we're going to go ahead and resolve a bunch of on deletion effects. And this is the most important part of the combos to make sure that you're sequencing things correctly. The best way I recommend is always resolving the game memory effects first, so that you gain 1 off Bake and gain 1 off Ghostmon. Then use Phantomon's on deletion effect to play something that's level 4 or lower back out. In this case, it's going to be either your Bakemon or Ghostmon, depending on what you need. If you want to go for more searching, play Ghostmon. If not, if you want to establish a level 4 so you can recycle things all over again, go ahead and play out Bakemon. And then finally, resolving Demi-Meramon. And in this case, I want to grab the Phantomon because I'm going to showcase and synergize with Violet inputs. Because a Digimon is deleted, where now we can digivolve into that same Phantomon from our hand with reduced cost of 2, so we put our opponent down to 1 memory. And as you guys now can see, we re-establish another level 5 back on the board as if we never lost anything to begin with. For combo number 2, this time I want to show you guys once we have a Phantomon stack ready to go with Violet inboots and Analog Youth on how we can keep cycling over and over again, which is going to be really crazy. This, we're going to push out the Phantomon. Assuming your opponent has a Digimon on the board, we're going to gain a memory with Violet inboots. Then we're just going to go ahead and digivolve into Necromon for 4 costs. Necromon is going to delete something with the lowest level on the opponent's side, and then this is where we're going to go ahead and execute and attack into the opponent's unsuspended Digimon or go for their security for 2 checks. Whether Necromon survives or not, as we know, execute is going to delete itself anyways at the end of the attack. Just like before, sequencing and resolving your on deletion effects is really important. So let's go for the memory gaining effects first as always. Gain 1 and gain 2. This time with Analog Youth, because it's a level 5 or higher Digimon with sources, we get to spend this one additionally to gain another memory and hatch an egg as well. Now with Necromon and Phantomon's on deletion effect, we get to play out a level 5 or lower off Necromon or a level 4 lower off Phantomon. Let's go ahead and just say play out the level 5 and the level 4 of these on deletions. And then finally, we're going to resolve Demi-Meramon to grab a Necromon back. Once again, depending on what you need on the sources and how we want to play and continue to turn, this is the flexibility that you guys need to analyze based on the game state. Just because here, for example, if you want to grab a Ghostmon instead, so that it can digivolve in the raising the back and continue to build into another stack, or even pass your opponent to 1 memory into a Soulmon here. That's option number 1, but let's just go ahead and say we grab Necromon. This is where we can use Violet inboots to whether digivolve into another level 5 for 1 cost, or we can actually just digivolve into another Necromon, delete something out again. We can't attack because we don't have rush because these Digimon are play, but at least it's another form of removal. For next combo, it pretty much has an identical setup as the previous one, but at this time, instead of just having Violet inboots, Analog Youth, and your Phantomon stack ready to go, you want to have at least a Digimon in your trash that has a on deletion inherent effect that gains you a memory, because we're going to use that and continue to gain a ton afterwards to keep our turn and keep playing. And assuming if the opponent has 4 or fewer security, which we chip them in the early stages of the game, this is where we can potentially finish them off, which is absolutely crazy. So we're going to go ahead and push out the Phantomon, and as always, assuming the opponent has a Digimon, Violet inboots is going to gain us a memory. Now, instead of just going straight into Necromon this time, I want to showcase what it's like to get into Metal Phantomon for the 1 cost. With Metal Phantomon, we're not going to use its on-play when digivolving effect to delete itself. We're actually racking up the inheritable so that we can utilize it to de-digivolve later on. Now we go into our Necromon to climb up the stack that way, cycling through and draw more cards. Necromon end of turn just like before, we're going to go ahead and execute, attacking into the opponent's unsuspended Digimon, but ideally we're going to go for security because we want to go and hit them for 2 checks and make sure it goes through. Once it goes through, it survives, it still gets deleted because of execute at the end of the attack. Now, just like before with the on deletion effects, we want to make sure we're resolving things correctly and in sequence to make sure that we're gaining the maximum amount of value to continue our plays. As always, let's gain our memory first, Bake and Ghost. Suspend Analog Youth to gain another, and then we get to hatch an egg. Now we get to use Metal Phantomon's on deletion inherit effect to de-digivolve one of our opponent's Digimon, additionally in the stack this time. Then we're going to have Necromon play out a Bakemon, which is a level 5 or lower instead this time. And then we're gonna have Phantomon play out a Ghostmon specifically, and then use Demi-Meramon to return the Necromon back to our hand. Now, the reason why this time I'm not playing a level 5 and a level 4 specifically is because I want to go ahead and use Violet Inboots to help me Digivolve the Ghostmon into another Bakemon, which ideally we want to make sure to rack up as many on deletion gain memory effects as possible. So by doing that, we get to Digivolve it for free. And then at this moment, if we had a secondary rookie that we can work with, we can Digivolve it in the back as well. And then we're going to go ahead and DNA the 2 level 4s together to go into a Chimeramon. Chimeramon gets to let us tuck sources underneath. We can tuck a Metal Phantomon for additional colors to further DP reduce the opponents, but in this particular combo, I want to rack up the gaining memory effects as much as possible, because what Chimeramon is going to do next is going to DP reduce 2k to up to 4 opponents Digimon, which is not super important because we're just going to go into our same Necromon for the 4 cost once again, and with that we delete their lowest level Digimon once again. And because Chimeramon was DNA Digivolve, that means it doesn't get Summoning Sickness, and we can attack and we get to use these inheritables as well. So we're going to go ahead and execute for another 2 checks against the opponents. Assuming the Necromon survives the 2 checks, at the end of the attack it deletes itself, and then this where we're going to gain 4 memory back, again keeping our turn, which is absolutely insane. And then we can play a level 5 or lower. In this case, if we really want to just go beyond and delete a lot of stuff, we can go for Metal Phantomon, delete itself, delete another level 5 or lower. We can play out a regular Phantomon. Not really super important, but this is where I want to show you guys how we finish the game with Apparition Legion. Ideally, we want to make sure the opponent has a level 6 and a level 3 or a level 5 and a level 4 in their trash in order to complete this combo, because with doing that, we're going to pay the whole 8 memory, and we want to make sure that we're going to be playing something, let's say go for the 6 and the 3. By bottom decking that, we get to play out Ghostmon and Necromon, which is a 6 and 3. We want to make sure we're playing something that has Execute, because what Execute is going to allow us is attack at the end of the turn. But you guys might be wondering how, because we just played these Digimon out. But with the effect of Apparition Legion, all of our Digimon played via this effect gains Rush and Blocker, meaning whatever Execute Digimon that we played out and the opponent has 0 security and no Digimon to sort of like counter us anymore, we can go ahead and finish it off with Necromon. Otherwise, we can finish it with Phantomon if we played out a level 5 and a level 4 off of Apparition Legion instead. And then as long as it's Execute, we get to finish the game off just like that. Make sure to get your very own Initialize Spar collection on the AVAULT store right now, and definitely watch the latest Battle Vault episode to get exclusive discount codes for this latest drop. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.